Okay. So here's part two. Okay. I ran out of time for the first video, which is fine. So we'll just knock it out right now. Okay. I'm going to adjust my paper. There we go. Okay. So here they want to know what's true for a credit card. Okay. So true for a credit card, not true for a debit card. Okay. So when someone has a PIN number, okay, they use that PIN number to access money on their debit card. Their debit card's connected to their checking account, so that's money that you have. Credit is not money that you have, it's money you're borrowing. Okay, so that's going to be very important. A cardholder will have money withdrawn, which means taken from their checking account. Again, checking account means it's connected to your debit card. C, a cardholder will be charged interest on a purchase unless the balance on the card is paid in full at the end of the billing period. Interest is something you get or something you're charged if you're borrowing money. And if you're borrowing money, then that's going to be on the credit card, okay? And then D, cardholder can use an automatic teller machine, an ATM, to withdraw money, an ATM. People use debit cards for that. So when they say which statement is true for a credit card but not true for a debit card, the only thing that's true for a credit card here is the fact that if you don't pay your balance in full at the end of the billing period, which is usually every month, then unfortunately they'll charge you a little bit extra money, and that's going to be called interest. Okay, now let's talk about number 11. These ones are going to be kind of quick. Number 11, Mr. Lloyd wants to buy a new television, but he does not have enough money in his bank account. So this is important. He wants to buy a new TV, right? So he wants to buy a new TV, but he does not have enough money, more importantly, in his bank account. Which of these is not an option for Mr. Lloyd? So if he uses his credit card, which is money that he's borrowing, then obviously he can buy that TV. So if that's something he can do, we're looking for something he can't do. Now, he can save money and pay cash for the TV at a later date. Of course, you can always save money and pay for something you don't have money for at a later date. That's something he can do. Again, we're looking for something he cannot do. He can use his debit card to buy his television. Now, well, isn't his bank account tied to his debit card? And didn't it just say he does not have enough money in his bank account? So the only thing he can't do is use the money he doesn't have to buy the television now. He could also just save money and use his debit card to buy the television at a later date. You can always save money and buy something that you want, not necessarily that you need at a later date. It doesn't matter if it's cash or if it's a debit card, but your debit card is tied to your bank account. Your bank account is tied to your checking account, okay? Let me write that too. Debit or a bank account. Debit card. So if he doesn't have money on his debit card, he can't then use the money he doesn't have to buy the television now. He's going to have to find another way to do it. He can use his credit card if he wanted. He can save money and pay in either cash, or he can save money and pay with his debit card. Those are all things that he can do. What he can't do is spend money he doesn't have, which we just established in the actual question. All right, let's talk about 12. Consumers. Okay, consumers are just people who buy things. So you are a consumer if you spend money to buy something. Sometimes they make choices that cause negative information to be put on their credit reports. Okay. So sometimes the way that you spend money can cause negative information on your credit reports. Okay. Which of these is most likely the number of years? The most likely number of years that this negative information will remain on your credit report. All right, it's 7 to 10 years. So if you're just not good at managing money and you're falling behind on your payments and you're falling behind on your credit cards and you're not paying your phone bill or you're not paying your light bill or whatever, right? Then these things get reported, okay? And they usually stay on your record for about 7 years. Now, if you were to file bankruptcy, then that would stay on your record for upwards to 10 years, okay? So that's why for that one in particular, we're not going into a lot of grandiose detail, but just know that if you're making poor choices with your money, that those poor choices can show up in these reports for 7 to 10 years. Okay? Now, number 13, here we're talking about which of these describes information that can appear on a consumer's credit report. So remember, you're the consumer, right? So which of these things can appear? Well, if you go to the name of a store where the consumer pays cash for all your purchases, if you're paying cash for all your purchases, then you're either getting paid cash or you're getting the cash from your own account. In which case, that's not going to show up on a credit report. It's just not. Here we go. The name of the company that gave the consumer a car loan 2 years ago. That's going to be our answer, okay? If you're getting a loan, again, you're getting money that you don't have. You are borrowing it from somebody, okay? Or a company. In this case, there's a company that gave a consumer a car loan 2 years ago. So if I'm doing something that requires them to check my credit, it's going to show that, hey, 2 years ago, this company gave you a car loan. It doesn't mean that's bad. It just means that'll show up. C, that's not going to be it. D's not going to be it. C's not going to be it. The money the consumer you will need to borrow in the next 5 years. That's not going to show up. Your dreams, wants, wishes, and aspirations are not going to show up on a consumer report. Only if you actually get the loan, only if you actually apply for the loan, will that kind of stuff show up. Otherwise, no, it doesn't make any sense. And if you loaned money to a family member, that is also not going to show up. That's just loaning money to a family member and calling it what it is. All right, number 14. So there's going to be 3 correct answers here. All right. Number one thing I like to do here is when there's missing information on my number line, I just fill it in. So that should be a 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, 1, 2, if I know how to space things correctly. Holy cow. 3, 4. Sorry about that. 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll fill out 9 just for the sake of filling it out, but it's not really actually that important. Now, we have to find out which of these descriptions makes the most sense. Now, it says we have 3 answers. So, what I've been doing is I've been showing y'all to view this data and how it's skewed like a slide or a roller coaster, right? So if we're going down this little roller coaster and we're having a great time, yay, what direction are we moving in? We're moving to the left, so this distribution of this data is skewed left, okay? Now, we're going to have to find a few things here, okay? Mode means it shows up the most. You can just look at 0 and see that it does not show up the most. So F is wrong. A is wrong. C is wrong. Symmetrical means if I cut this data in half, it looks the same on one side and the other. If I cut this right in half, clearly this is where most of the data is, and this is where only some of the data is, so that's not true. Obviously, if the data is skewed left, it can't possibly be skewed right, So truly, by process of elimination, we found our other two answers, which is D and E. But let's talk about why. Okay, so when you run into a situation like this, what you're going to want to do is write out these data points in order from least to greatest. So that's what I'm going to do. And the amount of dots represents the frequency in which that number appears. So let's write them out. I have 0, 1, 2, 3 shows up twice, 4 shows up twice, 5 shows up 3 times, 6 shows up 4 times, 7 shows up 4 times, 8 shows up 5 times. Now, in order to find the median, you just start from both ends and you work your way to the middle. So let's see if we can do this here. Right here. This 6 is our median. Okay? Now, so that's why that's correct. The mean is going to be all of these numbers added up and then divided by the amount of numbers that we have. So when we actually do that, if we add up all the numbers that we have, we end up with a total sum of 121. And if we divide by the amount of numbers that there are, we end up with 23. Then we just solve. I know 23 can fit into 121 5 times. That's going to give me, sorry about that, 115. Difference here is 6, decimal, 0, bring it down. I know 23 fits into 60 twice. Keep that decimal right there. And that's going to give me really 43, but I don't have to go any further. Okay? The mean is approximately, sorry, that was bad, approximately 5.4. Approximately means about, it's an estimation, and 5.2 is about or approximately 5.4. Okay, next question. Okay, number 15, they want us to find the mean, median, and range. Okay, so a couple things here that I like to do. I like to box in my key because that's important. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's box in this key. Awesome, cool. Now, wants me to find my mean, median, and range. In order to find my mean, I have to add everything up and divide by the amount of numbers that I have. In order to find my median, I have to write the numbers in order from least to greatest. And then to find my range, is subtract my largest number from my smallest number. So let's do it. Here we go. Mean, we have to write out all these numbers, okay? So we have 36, 39, 39, 40, 52, 54, 3 times, 61, and 63. So let's find our mean. Well, let's find our, actually, let's do our range first because that's probably going to be a little bit easier. Let's find our range. All right, range is going to be our largest number minus our smallest number. Okay, so 63 minus 36. My range is going to be 27. Let's find the median. The median are going to be the two numbers. Okay, the number in the middle. Well, what happens if we have two numbers in the middle? Well, when we have two numbers in the middle, we add them up. This is going to give us 106. Once we add it up, we divide it by 2. So half of 6 is 3, and half of 100 is 50. So in this case, our median is 53. Okay, median 53. But now that we have a median, we're going to have to include it into our new list of numbers. So that's where it gets just a little bit different, okay? So no worries. I'm rewriting this list of numbers, but I'm going to include 53 this time. 36, 39, twice, 40, 52, 53, and I'm going to circle it so it still represents my median. 54, 3 times, 61, and 63. Now, when I add all of these numbers up, I should end up with 545. I take that 545, and instead of the 10 numbers, I divide by the 11 numbers. Okay? So that goes in 4 times. That gives you 44. Difference here is 10. Bring down the 5. Or if I can make it a 5, sorry about that. Bring down the 5. It's 9.99. Difference is 6. Decimal 0. Bring it down. 5. That's about as far as we're going to go. So our mean in this case is 49.5. Simple. Number 16. All right, they want us to find the range, mean, and median. That's really not that bad. Range, again, is largest number minus smallest number. Largest number here is 369. 369. Smallest number is 181. When we subtract that, we end up with 8, 4, and yeah. What? No, my bad. 16 minus 8 is 8, and then 1. Sorry, my bad. So our range here, okay, range equals 188. Well, in order to find the mean, we have to add it all up. So that's not really that bad. When we add all of these numbers up, we should end up with 1,824, and we divide by the amount of numbers we have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's where I'm getting those numbers from, okay? We know that 6 goes into 18 3 times evenly. We pull down our 2, but 6 goes into 2 0 times. So we pull down our 4, and 6 fits inside of 4, or 24, 4 times. So our mean is equal to 304. Now, when we talk about our median, I apologize, sorry about that. We talk about our median, again, we have to order our numbers from least to greatest. So 181, 244, 306, 362 twice, and then 369. So now I'm kind of looking at this and saying, okay, I have 6 numbers, which means I should have 2 numbers in the middle, and those 2 numbers are going to be these right here. Okay, 2 plus 6 is 8. 6 plus 0 is 6, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So again, once you have a median, you have that where there's 2 medians, you have to add them and then divide by 2. So now I'm going to divide this number by 2. Half of 8 is 4. Half of 6 is 3. And half of 6 is 3. So my median, I'll just abbreviate it here, is 334. All right, let's go. Okay, Brian's working for a company with a high school diploma, and he earns $39,655 a year. His friend Jason has a bachelor's degree and is an engineer and earns $4,045 a month. So they're kind of tricking you here a little bit because they're using a year and they're using a month. So I need to figure out how much Jason is going to earn for the year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Jason's monthly income and multiply it by 12 because there are 12 months in a year. Okay? So that's why I'm doing what I'm about to do right now. So I'm going to take that 4,045 and multiply it by 12. 2 times 5 is 10, carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 2 times 0 is 0, and 2 times 4 is 8. Perfect, done with those. 1 times 5 is 5, 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times nothing, or 0 is 0, and 1 times 4 is 4. Then I add my partial products. 0, 14, 5, 8, and 4. So now I know that Jason is going to earn $48,540. Cool. That's actually not bad, you know. Now, I need to figure out who will earn the most money over a 30-year career. So that basically means I need to find the difference between Jason's salary and Brian's salary. And in order to find the difference, I have to subtract. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to get 48,540 minus 39,655. Have to borrow here. That's a 10. That's a 5. Borrow 13 minus 5 is 8. 14 minus 6 is 8. 17 minus 9 is 8. So their difference in salary is $8,885 a year. We need to figure out what that looks like over the course of 30 years. So I'm going to get this difference and multiply it by 30. And what I'm really going to do is I'm going to multiply it by 3 and add a 0 at the end of my answer. Okay, because that's still going to represent 30. So let's do it. I'm going to take 8,885. I'm going to multiply it by 3, and I'm going to add a 0 at the end. All right. 3 times 5 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 8 is 24, plus 1 is 25. Put the 5 down, carry the 2. 3 plus 8 is 24, plus 2 is 26. Put the 6 down, carry the 2. And 3 times 8 is 24, plus 2 is 26 again. So now we're writing both those numbers down. But I'm supposed to multiply by 30. So I'm going to add a 0 at the end and place my commas accordingly. That means over the course of a 30-year career, the difference between Brian's high school diploma and the difference between Jason's bachelor's degree is $266,550. That is over $250,000 that Jason will earn that Brian can't earn simply because he has a bachelor's degree. So that's going to be pretty important. That's why education is important. Okay? Okay, let's talk about 18. So with 18, it says find a set of 5 items that has a range of 9, a mean of 15, a median of 14, a mode of 11. So here they want basically 5 different values that represent this. Now, median is a number that's in the middle. So if they're telling us our median is 14, that's the number we're placing in the middle. Mode. Mode means how often that number shows up. So again, if we have to put these numbers in order from least to greatest, and the mode represents the number that shows up the most, that means both of these numbers will be 11. Now it says it has a range of 9. When we have a range of 9 and we only have one of the numbers, in order to find the range, we have to take our largest number and subtract our smallest number, but we don't know what our largest number is. So we take our smallest number and the range and we add it. And 11 plus 9 is very simply 20. Now here it says we have a mean of 15. Cool. Mean of 15 is, remember, when you add all of your numbers up and then divide by the amount of numbers we have. Now we don't know what this last number is. So what can we do? We can take our mean of 15 and multiply it by 5. When we do that, we end up with 75. Now that's important because if I don't know what this means, I can represent it with a variable, which I'll do right now with x. And all I'm going to do is add all this stuff up and set it equal to 75. Now, when I add all this stuff up, I should get, let's see, 11 plus 11 is 22. 22 plus 14 is 36. 36 plus 20 is 56. So now, really what I should have is, I'm going to write it right here, okay? Really what I should have is 56 plus x equals 75. So now it's just a one-step equation. I'm going to subtract 56 from both sides. And what I'm left with is that x is equal to 19. So that missing number right here is actually 19. Okay? All right, number 19. Here we go. Dan has a list of scores of his math tests and quizzes during the last year. What are the mean, median, and mode of the data set? Okay. Here we go. We have to make sure these numbers are in order from least to greatest. Okay. Let's do it. They want to know the mean, median, and mode. Okay. Put them in order from least to greatest. We have a 42, 74, 75 twice, 78, 79. Yeah, 82, 85, 87, 91. All right. Mean. Mean, we have to add it all up. So, if we add all this up, let's see what we get. Also, what we can do as well is you can find the mode first too, right? Mode, remember, is a number that just shows up the most. So I think for us, the mode here is going to be 75. Because that number shows up twice, which is just one more than everything else. So for our mode, we can write that down. That's not a big deal. Mode equals 75. That works, okay? Median. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we get. Let's see if we start here. So our median is going to be two numbers here, 78 and 79. So if I add 78 and 79 together, I should get 157. Now, when I divide 157 by 2, I end up getting 78.5. So our median here, 78.5. Now, let's find the mean, okay? We have, let's see here. Let's do this all together. 42 plus 74 plus 75 twice. 78 plus 79 plus 82 plus 85 plus 87 plus 91. All right, so when we add all this together, we end up getting 768. Now, how many numbers do we actually have? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have 10 numbers. Let's divide. We know 10 fits inside of 76 7 times. 6 times. Decimal 0, bring it down. Or no, 8, sorry. 8 times. So now we know the mean. Okay, the mean is 76.8. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay. For this one here, okay. Again, I like to see, I like to fill in some of these gaps here. It looks like they're skip counting by 5s, 15, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75. We'll do 85. We can kind of stop right there. Cool. So here we go. Histogram shows the number of customers that he vets pets for at different times of the day during 1 week. Okay, they want to know what percent of he vets customers showed up between the hours of 12 and 4. Okay. So first things, we have to actually know what each of these histogram bars represents, right? So from 10 to 12, we had 40 people show up. From 12 to 2, we had 80 people show up. From 2 to 4, we had 60 people show up. From 4 to 6, we had 70 people show up. From 6 to 8, we had 25 people show up. So we need to know how many people really it was, right? So what's the total amount of people that showed up here? Okay, add all this up, we should end up getting 275. All right, so there's 275, we'll say total people. Cool. What percent of Yvette's customers came between 12 and 4? Okay. 12 to 2 was 80, plus 2 to 4, which is 60. So together, 140 people out of the 275 people showed up. Well, cool. What does this mean as a percentage? Well, we have to do it. Tebow, top in, bottom out. Okay. Let's go ahead and knock this out now. 0.0. Okay. So 275 will fit inside of 1,400 4 times. And that's going to give us 1,100. And then we subtract. So right here, we really actually don't have to do that much beyond this. We will, I guess. Okay, so 300 goes in there once, right? So 275, and then it'll continue and go on and go on. But really, if we have 0.41 and we swing it over, we know about roughly 41% of her customers are showing up between 12 and 4. Okay, that's basically how that happens. Number 21. Okay, this one's not that bad. What do they want to know? Shop owner did a survey to determine the ages of shoppers who made purchases in the shop. The results for one afternoon are shown. What percent? Okay, what percent of shoppers were between the ages of 25 and 40, including 25 and 40? If necessary, round your answer to the nearest percent. Okay. Really, this one we don't have to think too much about. They put our numbers in order from least to greatest. They said that we can include 25 and we can include 40. Okay, so this is the range of people that we need to focus on, right? So how many people are in this range? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Out of how many total people? Right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So again, top in, bottom out. 5 goes on the inside. 17 goes on the outside. 17 cannot fit inside of 5, so we do a 0.0. 17 fits inside of 50 twice. That gives us 34. Difference here is 16. 0, bring it down. And 17 will fit into 160 9 times. That's going to give us 153. Now again, it says round if you need to. Okay, so I'm not going to keep going, but we're going to say around about 29%. Okay, about 29%. Now 22 is pretty simple. All right, this has to do with just check registry. This one's super easy. Okay, this is what you have. This is what you spent. So what do you have now? All right, not hard. 1,233.59. 33 minus 58.59. 25. All right. Let's do it. Okay. Gotta borrow there. No, you don't have to borrow there. I'm stupid. So that's a 4. That's a 3. Sorry about that. Now you have to borrow. That's a 2. That's a 13. 13 minus 8 is 5. I have to borrow here. 12 minus 5 is 7. 1 minus nothing is 1. 1 minus nothing is 1. So after spending $58.25, you end up with a final balance here of $1,175.34. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. Histogram shows the number of customers at Yvette's Pets at different times of the day during 1 week. In which time interval did about 33% of Yvette's customers come into her store? Okay. Between 40 and 50, that's going to be 45. It's going to be 90. It's going to be 50. It's going to be 70. And we have 20. All right. Now, when I add all of these numbers up, we end up getting 270. Okay. So when they're talking about a third, which is 33%, I want you to kind of think of the front of your numbers here. 4. I want you to think of 9. I want you to think of 5. I want you to think of 7. I want you to think of 2. And the other front number I want you to think of is 27. Of all of those numbers, which one of those numbers actually fits into 27? 9. So, because what I can do here is I can actually get rid of our zeros, right? Now it's a matter of how many times can 9 fit inside of 27. Well, 9 fits into itself once. 9 fits into 27 3 times. This is the same thing. So what time interval? 12 to 2. All right. Almost at the end here. All right. So, yeah, they're okay. Julie is missing a transaction in her check registry. Is the missing transaction a deposit or a withdrawal? We have to figure that out. If I look at her balance from here to here, the price is going down. If it's going down, that means money was taken out. And in order to find out how much money was taken out, I'm going to get these two numbers and subtract. And that amount is going to go, right here. And if it's been taken out, then it is a withdrawal. So let's do it. 472.58 minus 411.08. Okay. 0, 5, decimal, 1, 6. Cool. So it was a withdrawal. of $61.50. That's all. Easy peasy. Okay, now they want to know the difference between a marketing manager and a financial analyst. And they want to know what that looks like over the course of 10 years. So we're going to subtract these two numbers and then add a 0 at the end. And that's how we're going to find our answer. So let's get 115,750 and let's subtract 76,950. And we'll go from there. 0, 0, have to borrow, that's an 8, have to borrow, that's an 8, have to borrow, that's a 3. Get rid of that comma actually, because then we add a 0 at the end. That means the difference over 10 years is $388,000. And that's it. All right. Hopefully this helps, guys.